how to work just 4 weeks a year and delegate all your routine tasks to neural networks. Let's break it down. In reality, routine work is like a new pandemic in the modern world, because every employee spends between 5 and 12 hours a week on routine tasks. 7 out of 10 people feel overwhelmed by routine, and 32% feel overloaded with work. It's almost as if this state has become the norm for people. But no, this is not normal. And if we look back to the early 2000s, there were a huge number of books by Brian Tracy, David Allen, Stephen Covey, all talking about efficiency. They said that if you want to double your efficiency, then you need to... Do you know what their advice was? Work twice as much? But what if I'm already working twice as much? So does that mean working not 8 but 16 hours a day? But 10 years later, around the mid-2010s, a book by Tim Ferriss came out, The 4-Hour Workweek. And the key idea there was that doubling your efficiency means you just need to do less, focusing on the most important task. And overall, that sounds logical and reasonable, but not in 2026. Because with the advent of neural networks, to double your efficiency, you just need to use artificial intelligence. Make sense? Here are a few particularly telling news stories. For example, one of them is that the head of Shopify refused to hire new employees unless it could be clearly proven that artificial intelligence could not possibly replace them. Mark Zuckerberg refused to hire employees who do not fully understand AI. In Russia, the number of job openings that specifically require knowledge of neural networks has increased tenfold. And on the one hand, this shows that, wow, these people are becoming more and more in demand. And on the other hand, there's also the flip side. For example, Goldman Sachs claims that 300 million people will be out of work because AI will replace them. And here we see a very interesting and thought-provoking picture. Now, the most sought-after employee on the market is not necessarily the one with well-developed soft skills and hard skills. Soft skills, for example, are when you know how to negotiate effectively, manage your time efficiently, and emotional intelligence also counts toward that. And even at the Davos Forum, they said that there are a certain number of soft skills that are critically important, and now they are becoming more important than everything else. But there are also hard skills, meaning how well you can actually do your job. So tell me, what do you do? What field do you work in? So for example, if you're a designer, you need to be able to work with design software. Those are hard skills. If you're a salesperson, you need to know how to work with scripts and close deals, make sales. Those are your hard skills as well. Although some HR professionals might argue with me in the comments, but go ahead and argue in the comments. Share your opinion below. A new area of skills has emerged that didn't exist before, and now it's become essential. And if you don't have those skills, then sorry, you're no longer needed by a modern company. So what are these skills? They're AI skills. In other words, skills in working with artificial intelligence. So now let's figure out what these skills are and how to learn them. So I identify 3 groups of these AI skills. The first is AI thinking. What is AI thinking? Back in the day, when we were transitioning from computers to mobile devices, there was a term mobile first, meaning that interfaces were designed to look good on a mobile phone first, and only then on a computer. And now it's important for employees to develop the same mindset, AI first, right? In other words, you should first figure out how to solve something with AI, and only then look for ways to automate it with human effort. A good example, we had Kira Lapina, the CEO of the Unified Service Center at Severstal, as a student. She implemented the following rule for her entire team of 2,000 employees. Before scheduling a meeting, an employee must first discuss the issue with a neural network, and only if they can't find a solution, then set up a meeting. As she explained, the result was that employees started coming to meetings better prepared, and the duration of meetings decreased. This is what AI first thinking looks like. Next, you need to know how to create prompts, that is to write in a way that gets the neural network to give you the result you want. For those who don't know what prompts are, let me make a brief digression. If you imagine a neural network as a stove where you can cook something and the result you want to get is, say, a cake or a cookie, then the prompt is the recipe you use to make it. And it's important not just to know the recipes, because if you have a recipe and a stove but no ingredients, then you won't be able to cook anything. That's why you need to understand where to get the ingredients and how to prepare them so that everything turns out well for you. In theory, that sounds good. I actually have a separate detailed video on this topic where I explain how it all works. But here we're moving on. You need to learn how to prompt. And here's a good example. Natalia Eremenko, a methodologist, studied with us. In 3 hours, she completed a month's worth of work. because she wrote the right prompt, which immediately generated a program for her trainings and courses. And so in 3 hours, she created 9 trainings, which would have taken her a month of work. Amazing, right? Yes, of course, absolutely. It's really cool. And if you know how to do this, then you become in demand. Here's another clear example. I hired a skilled copywriter who writes engaging text for our company blog. The thing is, this copywriter actually created unique prompts for himself, which allow him to very quickly generate text in exactly the form they are needed. In fact, he even acts as a kind of chief editor who sets the technical tasks for the neural networks. The neural network does all the work for him and he gets the results. And he alone, entirely by himself, can perform the work that used to require 5 or 6 people to do manually. Of course, this is an exceptionally efficient employee, but his value to the employer in this particular case lies in the fact that he knows some unique prompts that no one else on the market knows, and because of this, he becomes extremely in demand. And the third type of skill is automation, that is, the ability to speed up processes and in general to have them run automatically. That is, you shouldn't just be able to, for example, ask questions in DeepSeek, solve something, or simply spend time interacting with it. You need to automate this work. For example, we had Sasha Ignatov, a marketer who worked at a company as a student. He automated his process of communicating with potential partners and clients, and as a result, an AI agent started doing it for him. This routine, which used to take him about 4 hours a day, he simply handed over to the AI agent, and the AI agent started handling it. About 600,000 rubles a month, closing deals, everything works perfectly. And for the employer, it's still the same employee delivering the same results. But Sasha works half as much now. Is this beneficial for Sasha? Yes. And is it beneficial for the employer? Yes. Because he's a highly sought after person. And well, in this case, his salary stayed the same, but he has more free time now. He had even considered quitting that job, but after automating the process, he changed his mind. Here's another example. We had a student, Irina, a civil servant, who completed in 5 hours a task that used to take 30 days. She analyzed 161 documents and created a file system with about 16,000 pages. She did this using the Notebook LM neural network and got a promotion. So, a person who knows how to automate work, who has the skill to first think about how to do it with AI, wow, and then can write prompts and automate the task, that's the kind of skill that's becoming highly sought after on the market right now. Sounds great, right? But how do you actually learn this? And so, if we're talking about AI thinking, in order to develop AI thinking, you need the following. You need to broaden your exposure, meaning you should understand which neural networks to use and for what purposes. And you're doing great by watching this video on YouTube, because that's exactly what you're doing right now. You're expanding your exposure. So if you've already given me a like, if you're not a bot or an AI, I'll give you a like too. You need to understand what you can do with each type of artificial intelligence. Because right now, for example, there's ChatGPT, and you absolutely shouldn't use it for certain processes, like in some tasks. I've written a separate comprehensive course on AI safety techniques where I explain where it is strictly forbidden to use it. It can even lead to being fired. But there are, for example, Claude, Notebook LM, GenSpark, Gemini, DeepSeek, and so on. In which cases can you use which one? Yeah, right, that's the question we need to consider. Next, you need consistent practice and frequent repetition in order to truly develop this AI mindset. It's not enough to just watch videos passively. And this is a key point to remember. In order to develop this way of thinking, you need to go through the Kolb cycle, which involves experiencing, reflecting, conceptualizing, and experimenting. Yes, there was a scientist who, at one time, crystallized, let's put it that way, a certain cycle for learning anything. And he says that in order to truly learn, you first need to gain some valuable experience. Then you should carefully analyze that experience, really try to understand what actually happened to you, and then theorize about it to see how it all fits together and is structured. And next, create a plan for your further actions, the steps you will take next. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps you need to go through in order to simply learn. That's why when you just watch videos on YouTube and don't apply it in your work, of course, it doesn't lead to your skills improving. You're only increasing your exposure. And here I have to tell you a very important and significant message. If you want not just to learn about neural networks and what they are capable of, but actually implement them in your professional work and do it in a way that increases your income and speeds up your workflow, then I've prepared a completely free masterclass for you called Neuro X10 about how to automate your work and boost your earnings. In just 3 hours, you'll not only learn about all the different types of neural networks that currently help increase income for individuals and businesses, But you'll also discover a variety of approaches, best practices, and prompts that have already brought millions of dollars to our students. Right now, you can follow the link just below this video and register for the program. The link for free registration is available only for a limited time, so use it while it's active and then come back to finish watching this video. And the third thing you need, which is essential, is a strong and supportive environment. At one time, the renowned speaker Rohn described the following thoughtful metaphor. In order to truly grow, you don't need to be the biggest fish in a small pond. Instead, you need to seek out a much larger body of water where you'll be a small fish. Then, in that new environment, you'll have the chance to grow and develop. It's an excellent and insightful metaphor. That's why, in order to really develop AI thinking and start growing, you need to put yourself in an environment where others are stronger than you and more advanced in the area you want to develop in. Remember, there's a saying that my income is equal to the average income of the 5 people I spend the most time with, or, just the average of your environment. This is about the same thing. And in order to improve your knowledge and skills, you need to surround yourself with people who are more advanced in that field. Next part, you need to understand 3 types of prompts. Let's break it down. The first type is text prompts, where you ask a question and get an answer. The second type is photo and video prompts, for generating photos and videos. We can group them together because for the most part they are very similar. The difference with video is that you add camera movement and some video-specific parameters, but the approach is basically the same. And the third type of prompt, which I consider separately, is specifically instructions for assistance. This is already preparation for the skill of automation. In other words, it's the ability to template a task. Because even with photo and video prompts, if we use, for example, automation systems or action chains like Plus or others, you need to be able to create these prompts so that they are executed as templates within the action chain. And let's move on. The third type of skill is automation. Here, you need to understand how to work with AI agents. So, AI agents, when we talk about AI agents here, we mean those that can conduct dialogues and interact with users. And the second aspect is building automation systems. Why do I separate them? Because automation can even work without AI, for example, N8N, Make, Zapier, and other services. They allow you to build automated systems and processes even for simple tasks, even without artificial intelligence. If you can create these chains, great. Naturally, you become someone who gets work done more quickly and efficiently and can free up time in your daily routine. And we've had precedents during training. For example, Alexander, a psychologist who works at a university, said, "You would not believe how much time I managed to save in just 2 months of training." He also said, "If I had tried to do this on my own without the benefit of the training, it would have taken me 2 years, but I accomplished it in just 2 months." And this is a clear and compelling example of how people are really able to speed things up. Another clear example we had was Sergey, a methodologist who shared at the graduation that in just 1 month of working with neural networks, he notably completed 70% of the work he was supposed to do by the end of the year. And this, once again, clearly demonstrates that by using powerful neural networks and by thoughtfully applying these important skills, you gain a remarkable superpower that allows you to successfully complete any work by the end of the year. Is this applicable to all fields? Let's discuss this in the comments below. This was Pavel Lebedev with you. Give this video a like if you're not a bot or a neural network, and we'll see each other in the next ones. Bye!